What's up, everyone? Today's class is an internal strength model focus. We're going to be working up to an upper body push challenge, pike push-ups at continuous tension set. It is really tough. With that in mind, in our ISM classes, we have to train our joints building up to that challenge. We're going to start with our cars. So if you've got it, Dow is going to come overhead, challenging our shoulder flexion. You can always regress by bringing the arms a little bit in front of the ears like this. Pike push-up isn't crazy into shoulder flexion, so you don't have to force it if that's too much for you. Rib cage is going to stay down. We're training scapular cars here, really tough. You can always go without the dowel. I want you to get some good external rotation, really twist on that bar. Going to start with protraction. Reach shoulder blades forward, shrug up to the sky, retract back, and shrug down. Go small. It's harder than you think. Protract, reaches forward, shrug up to those ears, squeeze back, shrug down. We'll get 3. One more time, reach forward, keep that tension on the dowel. Shrug up, wake up that upper back here, retract, depress down, hold there. We're gonna reverse, pinch back, shrug up, reach forward, shrug down. 2 more reps. Keep that good twist on the dowel. Challenge yourself to maintain your shoulder flexion. The dowel is gonna move in a small circle, following those scapulas, squeezing back, shrugging up, reaching forward and through. I'll grab that dowel out of the way. Love this setup for wrist cars. Just gonna fold forward, supinated, palm to the sky, blocking our elbow down on the yoga block. So this is a lot on your knees. Again, you can use a bench or something, almost posting up a little bit higher if you need to. But from here, make a fist, and I want 3 really slow wrist cars. Drive your knuckles in, slowly extend down to the floor. Match my tempo here. Knuckles drive out, don't let that form follow. Flex up to the sky, continue, that's 1. Knuckles driving in, down to the floor, fight for extension, carving that workspace out, flexing up, pull from that form. 1 more time, in, fights down, drive out, flex up, freeze, reverse, knuckles out, extend down, fight in, and up. Go slow. Love the setup to really make sure our elbow is not involved, just the wrist moving here, in and up, out and down. Last rep, drive those knuckles in, flex that wrist up, drive your knuckles out and extend through. Then we flip sides. Yoga block just comes over a little bit. Now we'll post forward that left forearm on there. Knuckles drive in, extend down, same thing now on this side. Knuckles out and flex up. Nothing else should move. That's why we're blocked on this yoga block in this setup. Extending, driving your knuckles out, flexing up. Go slow, fight for strength and control. Obviously need our wrists a lot today with a pike push-up. Freeze and flexion, opposite way. Knuckles drive out. Then we extend down, now we fight in, then we flex up. Slow reps only. Which side's harder for you? Always self-assessing. Knuckles in, fighting up, knuckles out, fighting down. 1 last rep, in and up, out and down. As you finish through those wrist cars, next up, just come into a comfortable kneeling position for elbows. You can go both arms at once for elbow cars. Karate chop hands, squeezing all 10 fingers together. We're gonna supinate, turn our palms out, bicep curl up, fighting to keep the palms outside of the shoulders. From there, flip the palms forward and extend down. Go slow, we'll get 3. Supinate, bicep curl, keep those palms showing out. Pronate, flip those palms forward and extend down. Slow reps, supinate, turn out. Flex those biceps up. Pronate and extend down. Once you get there, stay pronated, palms here, flexing up there. Supinate and extend down. Slow reps. Pronate, flexes up. Supinate and extend down. Just 1 more rep. Tension on these. Flip those palms. Squeeze those biceps. Show the palms out and extend down slowly. 1 more cars here to prep before we get into some input 1, capsular expansion for shoulder ER today. With that in mind, we've got to prep our shoulder cars. Please join us in a half kneeling position. We'll be on the right knee with the left leg in front. I want that dowel in the left hand driving into the floor for some good tension. Make a fist with that right hand. 3 shoulder cars, really want to wake this up. Externally rotate, turn out, squeeze across the body, drive up into shoulder flexion, get there and freeze. Internally rotate, start reaching back as much behind you as you can. Keep internally rotating, trying to finish with the palms showing out, maintaining scapula position. Now reach back, extending the shoulder, max it out and externally rotate. Turn humerus out, drive overhead, lead with the knuckles across the eyes as you finish. That's 1, we gotta get 3. ER, adduct across, flex overhead. Once you find flexion, internally rotate, squeeze upper back, squeeze back, more IR, finishing knuckles to hip, tension in that dowel, squeezing back Externally rotating, turn, pinky leading forward overhead. Keep turning out as you come across the body. Reset, just one more. Fight for these ER, adducts, flexes. Internally rotates, drive back through abduction and extension. Finish next to that hip. Extending back, externally rotate, turning out, fighting for it, drive overhead. Max out that flexion and carve that adduction across. Don't skip it, it's so important. Flipping sides. So now we're on the left knee, right leg's in front, dowels on the right hand. Squeeze that left fist. Turn that arm out, reach across the body, then flex up. As you get overhead, fight for that internal rotation, squeezing back as far as you possibly can, being strict with scapula position, trying to show that palm out. Then reverse, extending back as much as you got, keep coming. Then we externally rotate, turn out, all the way overhead, squeeze tight to the body, and then come across. That's one. Breath in, dowel in the floor. ER, adduct across, flex overhead. Internally rotate, turn that humerus in, fight for it. More rotation, more squeeze into extension. Should feel that whole arm working hard. Driving back now, extending. Externally rotate, turn that bicep, flip that pinky forward as you come overhead. Need our shoulders today. Make sure you're working for these. Just one more. ER, adduct, flex up, internally rotate overhead. Keep turning in, driving back as far as you possibly can, finishing next to the hip. A breath in, tension, squeezing back, extending. Externally rotating, turning out, driving up overhead. Finish through into shoulder flexion and then come across the body. And we are done our CARS warm-up. Up next, expanding capsular space for shoulder external rotation. So much need for shoulder ER, anything overhead. So with that in mind, we're gonna be laying down prone on our belly. We're gonna have both yoga blocks under our hands so we can train this bilaterally. You're gonna lay down on the floor. Your elbows are gonna be here in line with your shoulders. Place the yoga blocks underneath your hands to bias you into some external rotation. We're gonna get our 2 minutes in the position. Meet you there. I know it's a little bit tricky to see, but we have both arms in line. We're in abduction, just like this, elbows in line with shoulders, and then we're blocking both hands up with the yoga blocks horizontal, just like this. If your shoulder's a little bit limited, feel free to go nice and low. But for Danny, as you can see, she has a lot of shoulder external rotation. She's very easily able to get into that position. Head is just resting. We're just lying flat. Scapula are just sitting here. Do not retract. Do not protract. Let the elbows be heavy. Let the blocks turn your shoulders into external rotation. As you get here, we are going to spend our 2 minutes in the stretch. I'm checking my watch. Get your breathing going. Soft breaths in, soft breaths out. As you breathe here, feel free to explore the setup a little bit. Maybe you could go into a neutral position with your elbow. You could try making a fist. You could go here. You could try that. Maybe that gets you into a better stretch for the front of the shoulder. As you're in this position, if there's any kind of pinching or cramping in the posterior shoulder, usually means you're too high up. Suggest lowering that block down. If you need to, you can even go hands elevated on something miniature, smaller than a block. Breathing here. Nice slow breaths in. Nice slow breaths out. To expand capsular space, we need to spend our 2 minutes in the stretch. We have to allow enough time to relax into our true end range. So as you spend some time here, you should notice it being easier just to let the shoulders rest in this position. Now, you're not going to start yet, but Pales is quite simple in this position. You're blocked into ER. Your Pales effort is going to be both fists trying to press down as if you were trying to internally rotate your shoulders through the blocks, pressing down. That should be the front of the shoulders working. Could feel like pec, could feel like anterior deltoid, but something deep in that anterior front shoulder. That's Pales, not starting yet. Rails will be the opposite, both arms trying to lift up. If you're able to lift the hands, you're just going to hover and hold that for the time. With our Pales rails today, we are taking this to a high level of intensity. 100% for you is your greatest pain-free, cramp-free range. If something is painful, or if you're just cramping out, you've already hit past your 100%. Match my cueing here, but you're only working up as high as you can keep it. We want to get 8 seconds at that 100% level to expand our capsular space. Just follow my cueing. I'm going to talk you through it. So we've been in the position for 2 minutes. Take a breath in. Hold that breath for a moment, trying to radiate the front of your shoulders. Start pressing both hands down. Push. I want you to increase that intensity. 10% finds 20, finds 30. This is our warm-up set here. Finds 40, finds 50, 50% effort, 8 seconds. Push hard, hard. Keep driving down, bending through those blocks. 5, 4, 3, 2, keep that effort, lift your hands, pull up, pull up. If they don't lift, try. Pull from posterior shoulder, you wanna feel those rotator cuffs working hard. 3, 2, relax. As you can see, expanding capsular space is hard work. Yes, we have to get our 2 minutes in the stretch, but then we need intensity. So we wanna try and get up now to 100% effort. You were just halfway there. We're gonna ramp it up fast, so match my cueing. A breath in, irradiate anterior shoulders, front shoulders, start pushing 10%, 20%, 30% more, 40, 50, 60, 80, find 100% as hard as you can, 8 seconds, push, push, driving down, maintain that effort, 5, 4, 3, 2, max effort rails, lift those hands, pull, pull, find my hands, hold that 5 seconds, 3, 2, shoulders screaming, let the hands rest. Look how hard Danny was working. That is your goal. The more internal effort you put into your shoulder external rotation, the better your pike push-ups are going to feel. So slowly come out of the position. I want to actually get some shoulder flexion hovers. We're going to train a zone 1, zone 2 hover. Just remember, our zones mean it's not just shoulder flexion here. This would be zone 1 of flexion. What about out here into abduction? That's still shoulder flexion. We're going to train both, and we're going to do this down prone. So laying back down to the belly, let's get our right shoulder first. If you want to challenge yourself, grab your dumbbell. Let's do these loaded. You will need both yoga blocks. So we're laying back down prone. We've got our dumbbell in our hand. We're going to fold the opposite forearm underneath the forehead. Zone 1 hover is going to be that first yoga block going right in line with the wrist. You can go maybe a little bit turned out like this, find a slight angle. Zone 2 is going to be out to the side, and you want it a little bit lower than that second block. The idea being we're going to lift up, hover over, sit down, lift up, hover over, sit down. That would be a half rep. Coming back, that's a full rep. So these are very challenging. We're going to do 3. Feel free to drop the dumbbell, do this body weight. It's hard. Breath in, irradiate total body. Your pelvis is tucked, your core is engaged, your glutes are engaged, your legs are squeezing, crushing your dumbbell in your hand. Think about posterior shoulder. Lift that dumbbell up, hover block 1, decelerate to the floor, make sure it doesn't slam. Think about second block. Lifting up, posterior shoulder pull, drive wide, set down softly, more into abduction here. That's a half rep. Coming back, lift up zone 2, hovering in, decelerate down. It's gonna get tricky here as you get the hang of it. Coming back over zone 1, lift up, squeeze in, squeeze in, squeeze in, set down. So tough. Got 3 of these. Right into next rep, lifting up, hovering zone 1, decelerate to the floor, keeping tension, keeping external rotation, lift up, hovering zone 2, control that descent the whole time here. Breath in first. Exhale as you lift, squeezing in, control that zone 2, set down softly, lifting up over zone 1. Shoulder will be burning. Really quickly, notice this is taking you into end range flexion, so it's tough. Pike push-up isn't quite as deep into flexion, but we gotta prep it first. Last one here, up and over, zone 1. Challenge yourself to keep that slight external rotation. Don't let your shoulder dive in. Up and over zone 2, decelerate down. If you're starting to fail, you can always drop the weight to finish through. Lifting up over zone 2. Try not to bend that elbow, keep your tension. Lifting up, hovering zone 1, posterior shoulder getting squeezed as you fail through. All right, right shoulder fatigued. Let's flip around, get that left. Same thing opposite side. Now we've got the right arm folded under the forehead, dumbbell in the left hand. First yoga block going right in line with the wrist. Maybe we turn it out a slightest bit just to get that angle. Second yoga block, zone 2 hover, going right about here. You can always fool around with the setup once you get going. Might be harder on one side, so pay attention to it. Everything's an assessment if you do it properly. A breath in, thinking about that posterior shoulder, keeping some good external rotation. Lift up, hovering zone 1, decelerate down. You may find yourself wanting to rotate away. Make sure the chest is heavy on the floor. Posterior shoulder, lift up, hovering wide over zone 2, set down. Breath in, gotta come back, lift up. Clearing zone 2, decelerate to the floor. Might have to fool around with where the blocks are. Lifting up, clearing zone 1, and decelerate down. Which side's harder for you? That is 1/3 of the way through. Posterior shoulder engages, lift up, hover out over zone 1. Notice Danny's doing a great job not faking by rolling away. Keep those legs pressing into the floor. Zone 2, lift up, hovering wide, decelerate, breath in. Exhale as you lift. Use your breathing to help, clearing zone 2. Gotta come back, don't let it slam, control yourself. Lift up, squeeze into the ear, zone 1. Just one more rep, get your tension, breath in, hovering zone 1, lift, clear that block, decelerate down. Make sure you're pulling from that shoulder, not from your spine. Keep that core engaged, keep your pelvis tucked. Lifting up, clearing zone 2, decelerate. Posterior shoulder, lift up, clear zone 2, decelerate to the floor. Last quarter rep, lifting up and over zone 1, and we finish our flexion prep. So when you think about a pike position, as far as shoulders, we're gonna need extra rotation for our presses, but just to get into the pike, it's really shoulder flexion. We're just gonna be loading ourselves with our arms overhead. So Danny, why don't you demonstrate a pike for them? Come into a pike position here. So this would be what we think of as a pike setup. Now for Danny, she's got a lot of flexibility in this position. Tiptoe your feet a little bit forward. If you're able to really bring your hands and feet close together while keeping the heels off the ground, you can really get into this. Just now play with it. Maybe you will have to walk your feet back a little. Does that feel like you're really rounding your back as you get there? You might run into some lower body prerequisites here. So if you need to walk your feet back to regress, you can. If you want to walk your feet forward to progress, you can. And if you need to bend your knees a little bit, that's also fine. I don't care as much because today the emphasis is our shoulders. In this pike setup, first thing, please join us here. You're going to come into your pike. We're going to challenge now scapula cars in this position just like we just did overhead with the dowel, but now you're loading yourself. So feel all 10 fingers on the floor. Think about each individual digit gripping into the ground. I want a little bit of external rotation in those shoulders. Protraction's hard here. Push yourself away from the floor. Now elevate, shrug to your ears. Retract, pinch. Depress, squeeze towards your hips. Your body will follow. Protract, push your body away from the floor. Elevate to the ears. Squeeze, shrug, shrug, shrug. Retract, pinch, and depress, squeeze to the hips. One more time this way. Do your best. Protract, shrugging up to the ears. Pinching back, squeezing scapula, shrugging down to the hips. Once you get there, freeze. We're going to reverse. I want you to retract back, elevate up, protract, spread, push that floor away, and now depress down to the hips, pinching together, elevating up. Keep that little bit of extra rotation in your shoulders one more time. Depress down to the floor, pinch your shoulder blades together, elevating up to the ears, and then slowly come out of a pike for a moment. Breathe here, a few breaths in and out. Scapular cars in a pike are tough. So it is time to talk about our challenge of the day, being a comfortable position. What we've got is a pike push-up. We're going to be in that same pike you just were, and we are training push-ups in that setup. It's more about shoulder flexion and external rotation than a traditional push-up, and there's a lot of flexibility requirements for the spine, for the hips, for the hamstrings. It's a great challenge. To make it even harder, we are not going to train sets and reps today. Instead, we're going to explore the zones of shoulder flexion involved in the position while chasing time under tension. Instead of being about hitting 7 reps, 10 reps, we're going to see how long you can do continuous pike quarter push-ups. Basically, the first quarter off the ground for reps, then kind of the middle half, the pike push-up, not locking out, not down to the floor, and then the last quarter, locking out of the top, back down a quarter. Timing the whole thing. So to make this make sense, I want to do a warm-up set, not going to failure, just kind of practicing what the full rep's going to feel like. So coming back into your pike, you can rest a moment longer if you need to, but let's do this together. We're basically going to do just 1 rep of this, and it's a rep. So join us here, I'll talk you through it. But basically, we're going to do 3 little pumps in the bottom of the pike push-up, the halfway point of the pike push-up, and the top, and then we're going to come back down. This is just a warm-up to get the hang of it. So I'll talk Danny through it. Think about your external rotation. You want to really get that twist. As you pull yourself down, drive your elbows back. So you're going to lower all the way to the floor. Press up a quarter way, Danny. Press up, back down. Press up, back down. Press up, back down. Now come up halfway. Press up, hold right there. Back down quarter way, back up. Back down, not all the way down, back up. Not all the way up, one more time. Back down quarter way, back up, hold. Now we're going to lock out. Press up, back down a quarter of the way to my hand. Lock out, back down a quarter of the way. Lock out. Back down to the quarter way. Now stay there, halfway down, come to my hand. Don't quite lock out, press up quarter of the way. Hold, back down halfway, back up almost all the way. Good, one more time, back down halfway, back up quarter of the way. Good, now all the way back down, all the way to the floor, up a quarter of the way, back down to the floor, back up a quarter, elbows back up a quarter, back down, and rest for a moment. That is a practice set. That was not to failure, but you can see the intent. It is hard, continuous tension sets. How long can you train each zone of the pike push-up? What is hypertrophy training? We've talked about this. Is it 3 sets of 10? Is it 3 by 7? Or is it a certain stimulus of intensity? We have to tell the nervous system that we're going hard enough. So we're trying to do this set until we fail. Now, failure is different for all of us. So especially in an online class like this, I do not necessarily expect you to fall on your head. I'm not saying do this until you cannot press up and you completely eat it on the ground. I am saying do this until you reach technical failure. And you'll see this for Danny. I'm going to take her here. So You're gonna work just as hard as her, I hope. But you're gonna start seeing those little quarter reps. Maybe the elbow is flaying really wide. Maybe the spine is starting to extend. Maybe something other than what we want a pike push-up to look like starting to happen. So it's gonna be a timed set chasing what we just did. So basically what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna give you a little cheat, I'm gonna try and make Danny get about 30 seconds of each of those. About 30 seconds, quarter way off the floor, about 30 seconds, so that's already a minute of total time under tension, halfway down, halfway up, maybe about 30 seconds at the top. Now, if I can't get her to 30 seconds before I start seeing technical failure, I'm gonna regress to that next zone. So we're starting off the floor, halfway up, to lock out and a quarter down, and then if we've got it, I'm gonna make her go back down to the floor and back up again, seeing how long she's got until we see it start to fall apart. If you have a history with your shoulder, maybe you're just doing another set of that warm-up like we just did, 3 pumps in each direction. You don't need to quite go this far. But if you've got it, this is a challenge. We've prepped all the prerequisites, so challenge yourself here. This is about hard work. We wanna find that failure. So come into your pike. I've got my timer ready. Do your best here. Let's see what we've got. I want to get at least a minute, so challenge yourself. You're in your pike setup. Again, regression, walk your feet back. Progression, walk your feet forward. If you need to bend your knees a little bit, that's okay. Think about extra rotation of the shoulders. The hips stay up high throughout. I'm starting my timer. You're all the way down, Danny. All the way down. Go ahead. Quarter way up, back down. Quarter way down. They don't have to be fast up. Back up. Keep going. Continuous reps. Take your time. Drive your elbows back. Keep your elbows back. Keep searching. Back down. Back up. We just hit 10 seconds. Keep those elbows back. Gonna feel triceps, gonna feel rotator cuff, whole upper back working. Okay, I'm starting to see a lot of extension. Halfway up right there, back down to me. Halfway up, back down to me. Don't go too far, keep it small. Back up, back down, keep going. Back up, back down, slow it down, slow it down. All 10 digits involved, back up, back down. If you need to fail to your next phase, that's okay. Now lock it out, Danny, all the way up. Top of the zone, back to my hand. Back up, now we're doing that top quarter, back down. Back up, lock out. No pause, back down, continuous tension, working. Keep going, Danny. We just hit 45 seconds. Back up. Back down. This is getting too easy for her in the lockout phase. I got to make it harder. Back up. Back down this way. Halfway down. Halfway down. Hold. Back up 3/4. Back down. Don't lock out. Halfway down. Back up 3/4. Don't lock out. I don't want to see the elbows locked. Back down halfway. Back up. Good. Breathing here. This should be tough. Challenge yourself. Back up. Don't quite lock out. Third of the way down. Good. Back up halfway. All the way to the floor. Let's see it. Got to get that last zone. Back to my hand. Back down. Back to the floor. Back to my hand. Good. Keep going. 2 more. Elbows break back. Elbows break back. Challenge yourself. We're at a minute 15, halfway up, Danny. Halfway up, halfway, right there. Hold to my hands. Back up. If you failed already, that's okay, but you're working halfway down. Back up, halfway down. Back up. We're almost at a minute 30, halfway down. Back up. Elbows are starting to jump wide on me. Lock it out, Danny. Lock it out. Back down, quarter. Got to finish. Back up. Lock out. Back down a quarter. Breathe. Exhale. Every time, challenge yourself. Quarter way down. Back up. Quarter way down. Back up. Give me 1 more. Quarter way down. Back up. And I think that's about it. Lock that out, lock that out, lock that out, and come out of your pike position. So you can see we just hit a minute and 44 seconds of time under tension in a 1-rep pike push-up, exploring every zone of the position. So what muscle is it training? Shoulders. What muscle is it not training is the better question. You're working everything if you take things to the intensity they deserve. It doesn't mean go into pain. It doesn't mean go until something hurts. It means challenge yourself where you're at. So I hope that was plenty challenging. I'm not gonna throw in anything really after this, but I do wanna just get those shoulders out of that much flexion. So comfortable kneel or seat. Let's get a couple swimmer hovers to finish up. So comfortable seated position or kneel, I don't really mind, whatever's comfy for you. Hands are gonna go on the small of the back. I wanna do a couple swimmer hovers just to get those shoulders to relax a little bit. Let's start with that retraction, pinch shoulder blades together, then peel your elbows back as far as you can. Lift your hands. Extend your elbows back, try and keep those shoulders low. Externally rotate, reach overhead. Your arms are gonna be tired here. All the way overhead, you're gonna feel these. Bend your elbows, searching for the back of the head. Try not to extend the spines too much. Scapula pinch, elbows peel, hands lift. External rotation extends up. Start IR, reach back, squeeze in. Pinch towards each other, pinch that upper back. Bend those elbows, set down where you started. Let's just do 1 more. Shoulders relax, scapula pinch, elbows peel, hands lift, find my hand, hold that in. Extend. Feel those triceps, pull, 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 rotate, ER, drive overhead, keep those shoulders away from your ears, keep them down. Letter Y position, bend the elbows, search for the back of the neck or the back of the shoulders. From there, scapula pinch, elbows peel, hands lift, extend up, last half rep here, IR, reach back, challenge that adduction here, squeeze your hands towards each other, then bend your elbows and set down. Breathe here. And you have finished your upper body pushed, focused, internal strength model class. Hope you enjoyed it. Drop us some feedback and let us know how much time you got. We're really interested.